Someone named Lil Wayne said this: haters only hate things they cannot have and the people they cannot be. Haters hate because he cannot get the things that he wanted, so he hates. And also, why he hates people? Because he's not better than that person. This is a little thing called jealousy. We see this happen to King Saul. He hated David because he couldn't do what David did, and he was not better than David. In today's lesson, we will see how King Saul sink deeper into his jealousy over David and did more evil things. King Saul wanted to kill David, but he fell because God was with David. This foolish king, supposed to protect his own people, but now because of his jealousy, he day and night focused on planning how to kick David out of his life, how to get rid of David. What a foolish king, wanted to kill his own people. One day, King Saul finally came out with a plan. He used his older daughter named Merab as bait to get David into a battle with the Philistines, hoping that David will get killed in the fierce battle. He told David, "I will give you my daughter Merab as your wife if you could win the battle against the Philistines. It is a great honor to become the king's son-in-law. Your status will be upgraded and you become the member of the royal family and live in the palace forever. Who will reject the offer? Every man hope this will happen to them. Every man will hope to get this offer." But David was a humble man. He didn't reject the king, but he said, "Who am I? And what is my family in Israel that I should be the king's son-in-law? My father's family is nothing." David felt that he don't deserve this honor, but he's willingly to accept it if it is from the king. When the time came for Saul to give his daughter Merab to David as wife, Saul broke his promise. He didn't keep his word. He gave Merab to another man. What a disrespectful king. I believe that King Saul did it on purpose. He wanted to humiliate David. He wanted to upset David, to make him look bad in front of others. But David did not say anything. God was good to David, although the king bullied him. In the meantime, King Saul's younger daughter, named Michal, had fallen in love with David. Because David was a handsome man and he was so successful, he was a charming young man. Every woman will fall in love to David. King Saul heard about it and he was delighted because he can use this chance to get David killed in the battlefield. Again, he told David, "Here is another chance for you to become my son-in-law." But David was a smart man. He won't fall into the same trap twice. He didn't take this offer this time. However, King Saul told his men to go and persuade David. The king taught his men to say this to David: "The king really likes you, and so do we. Why don't you accept the king's offer and become his son-in-law?" So eventually, David listened to them. But David said this: "How can a poor man from a humble family afford the bride price for the daughter of a king?" David knew himself very well. He was a humble man. He has no money. Now in Israel, during that time, even today, we Chinese also have this practice. When you want to take a girl as wife, you have to pay the bride price, or we call it dowry, to the girl's family. That's why David said, "I have no money to pay you, king. I'm just a poor guy." Of course, King Saul knew that. David was a poor man. He was a shepherd. His father wasn't rich as well. What King Saul wanted was not his money. He wanted his life. So, King Saul told David, "It's okay lah, sap sui. I don't need your money. Since my daughter like you, it's okay. I just want the life of 100 Philistines." David heard about it. He was happy. He accepted the offer. Saul was happy also, because he thought David would die. Did David die in the battle? Of course not, because God was with David. God protected David and gave him victory. He killed 200 Philistines and presented their foreskin to King Saul. David gave more than King Saul asked. You see, again from here we can learn that David always did his best. He did his very best, not just his best. He gave more than he asked. We also need to have this kind of attitude when we serve others, when we were asked to complete certain things. This is called the spirit of excellence. Again, the spirit of excellence. King Saul fell again. This time, King Saul cannot break his promise anymore. He gave Michal to David as his wife. So Michal became the first wife of David. King Saul fell again. He knew that David was loved by God and by his daughters and by his people. That's why he fell over and over again. King Saul became more and more fearful of David. After this incident, David became more successful and more famous. What can we learn from today's lesson? There are at least 3 things. First, when you are jealous, fix it immediately. It might turn to hatred and murder, like what it happened to King Saul, to Adam's son Cain. Do you still remember the story? Cain killed Abel out of jealousy. Don't let it happen to you. Fix it when you have jealousy in your heart. Second lesson, if God is with you, nobody can harm you, though wicked men plan to kill you. Their plan will not succeed, but you must stay in God's presence. And lastly, serve like David. Don't hate. David did not hate King Saul in return. In fact, he still did his very best to obey the command of the king. He had the spirit of excellence. He worked more than he was asked. He did his very best. So students, I hope you remember what you learned today. God bless you.